Jonathan Trowan. Jonathan was the co-founder and owned the LA Live concert series. He's interviewed every rock star on the planet. He came from you were radio before that, correct?
That was my first career was radio. Yes,
you did everything. I know, and then changed his life, sold it all, and owns a yoga studio now, and it now has Self-Love Revolution, is changing the world. He's been on South by Southwest and many other stages. He does our podcast at the Mentor Studio. But what he's going to do now is ground you, and after he does his session, a couple of us are going to come back on, and we're going to take questions and do a little bit of training and a wrap, bring the day, and get you ready for the evening session, which has just been amazing as we move forward. But we had a point there, Jonathan, which is funny because people, especially the media industry, because we're launching a Spanish journal. And on us with us was the gentleman for 24 years. He was the EVP for Sony, Sony Pictures Entertainment, really bringing Sony out to the Spanish world. And same thing. He's like, I did, and he loved it. At the same time, now he's written the book, The Orchid, with his wife, and it's all about heart and passion and exercises to bring yourself into this new world. And that's what you're going to do for us right now. You're going to take us, you're going to ground us. I'm going to give you the floor. It's all up to Mr. Jonathan Trowan.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Michael. Of course, thank you to Mo Rock and everybody at the Los Angeles Tribune. And I'm actually going to do it a little differently because I have been watching a lot of what's been going on today. And there's just been some great leaders, some great information that they've shared, and they've given us so much that we now need to apply into our lives. And that's where it gets difficult. As an entrepreneur, as a business leader, as an owner, if you own your business, or just as a human, we go to these events and we wind up with these huge to-do lists, and we get overwhelmed. And we get stuck. And then we beat ourselves up. And a lot of you who have seen me before know me with the Self-Love Revolution. And we teach self-love techniques. We teach mindfulness techniques. And like Michael said, I spent 20 years in the entertainment business. I was living the life of my dreams, interviewing the biggest stars in the world. And I found out I was miserable while I was doing it. And there was one, in addition to that self-love, this is a big piece of self-love that I'm going to teach you. Here's how we figure out what we're supposed to do in life. And it's by mastering your emotions. So in about 18 minutes now, it's a 2-hour course. Get a pen and paper because I'm going to go fast. I want you to write some of this down. I'm going to teach you how to master your emotions. And you can call it emotional intelligence, emotional fitness, emotional wealth, whatever you want to call it. But that's what this is. And, Harvard University did a study some years back. And the study came out saying the number one predictor of success was not your grades at college or high school or your SAT scores or any test scores. None of that. The number one predictor of your success was your emotional intelligence. Now, most of us don't have a lot of emotional intelligence. And here's why. Have any of you been told, don't be sad, don't be angry, don't be afraid? If you've ever been told any of those things, I want you to comment. I want you to put a yes or put a 1 in the chat. When you're told these things, you're basically being told, don't feel. When you're told not to feel, you're really being told don't be human, because we all feel. So here is a crash course on how to master your emotions. Get your pen and paper. We're going through it quick. First off, you have to understand the 4 parts of communication. This is every communication there is. Step 1, write this down. There is an input. The input can be physically, can touch something. Is this smooth or rough? It can be visual. Car cuts you off in traffic or something else you see. It can be something somebody says to you or something you say to yourself. You usually can't control it. Of course, you can pick something up and touch it, but a lot of the input we don't control. Step number 2, there's an uncontrolled physiological response. And I'm going to get into why this is all important. Also, I want you to stick around because at the end, I'm going to share with you the most important question you can ask yourself every single day. Step number 2, there's an uncontrolled physiological response. Based on the input, your body has a reaction to it. You cannot control it. People say, control it. Don't be sad. You can't be sad. Or they'll say, there's no reason to be sad. There's no reason to be angry. If you see someone sad or angry, there is a reason for it. You might not think it's a good reason. That's fine. There is still a reason, and it can't be controlled. That first response cannot be controlled. It's an uncontrolled physiological response. So let's say a car cuts you off in traffic. Your body tenses up. You can't control it. Some people's body don't tense up. They can't control that either, or they've done the work so that it doesn't happen anymore. Okay, so I said we're going quick. Input, uncontrolled physiological response. Now here's where it begins to get fun. Step number 3, you judge that response as positive or negative or neutral. So car cuts you off, body tightens up, and your subconscious mind says, I don't like that. Step number 4, you react or respond. So in this example, car cuts you off, uncontrolled physiological response, your body tightens up, you hold the steering wheel, your shoulders come up, you judge that as negative, and maybe you flip the bird or say something mean to that car in front of you, they can't even hear you. Maybe I'm going to use some mundane stuff here. Maybe someone left a coffee cup in the sink right after you did all the dishes. You don't like it, your body tenses up. And you think, oh, that person, what a jerk. And maybe you go and yell at them. We have inputs all day long. Of course, they can be positive too. To be clear, someone hugs you, your body softens. You judge that as positive. Maybe say, oh, I love you. Hug them back. So those are the 4 steps of every single communication you have. And there are thousands of them a day. So how do we begin to change that? Why is it that some people get tense when a car cuts them off, for example, or when that coffee cup is left in the sink, or when someone says something to them? There's a 5th step I'm about to add here, and it goes between steps 2 and 3. So I want you to write this down. I know I told you to write down 1, 2, 3, 4. Go in between steps 2 and 3 and add something. And this is called the pause. During the pause, we have an opportunity to look at this uncontrollable physiological response and judge it not as positive or negative, but just as it is. It might be comfortable, it might be uncomfortable, it might be pleasant, unpleasant. That's fine, but it's not good or bad. We move it to neutral, and then we get to choose what we actually do. We get to respond instead of react. There's a great author, psychiatrist, he's passed. His name was Viktor Frankl. And there's this quote that's often attributed to him, though there's a question whether he actually really said it himself, but it encompasses his beliefs. And he was a Holocaust survivor, and he wrote the book Man's Search for Meaning. And the quote is, and apologies if I hack it a little bit, but between stimulus and response, there is a pause. There is a moment. And in that moment is our freedom and our power. That's where we regain our freedom and power, is in that pause. Okay, so now, what do we do in this pause? And we can do this together. So again, I spoke about these inputs. The inputs can be your thoughts. You ever beat yourself up? You say, oh man, Jonathan, you were so stupid. How could you do that? Oh, you stumbled over your words as you're talking, right? You guys ever do that to yourself? We all do. Nothing wrong with that. It's normal. And we get to pause. So here's what we do. in this pause. This is where the mastery of emotions take place, where you build your emotional intelligence and your capacity for self-love and self-compassion, which is others today you've heard, is necessary if you want to be that true, authentic, or people spoke about being the authentic leader, a leader with empathy. You've heard all this today. This is where it happens, in this very pause. So what do we do here? So think of something that makes you uncomfortable. Think of something that happened earlier today or yesterday that you didn't like. And feel it in your body. Step number one of the pause is locate the sensation. Where is it? Is it in your head, your shoulders, your heart, your stomach? You ever feel those butterflies in your stomach? You're not sure whether you should do something or not, and your stomach's kind of going. Locate the sensation. Where is it? Once you've located, and sometimes it's in a lot of different places, see if you can locate where it feels the most intense. And if you can't, then just take your whole body. That's fine. Now, our instinct, because we've been told so often, don't be angry, don't be sad, don't be afraid, our go-to is to get rid of the sensation. Hey, just think a happy thought. Get rid of it. Stop ignoring your emotions. Okay? You can't master them that way. They will come back. Yes, you can happy thought your way out of it momentarily. Promise you it comes back. You can also go for a drink. Watch TV. That's what a lot of people do. Go shopping, go eating, get something to eat. So these are ways that we change the physical sensation we're experiencing. Don't do those things. Be with the experience and observe it. So going back to that car example, just because most people can relate to that. Okay, hands are tight, shoulders are lifted, heart's pounding a little bit. Do not try and get rid of it. The moment you try and get rid of it, it takes you over and gets stronger. If you can spend time with it, it may take a minute. With practice, it takes a minute, 2 minutes. The beginning, maybe 10 minutes, half hour, maybe even a couple days. But if you be with it, it begins to subside. Now, once it's subsided, and you have to give it time, once it's subsided, write this down. You put your hand on your heart. This is the most important question you can ask yourself every single day. Are you listening? What's my next best action? You don't need to answer it. The universe will give you the answer. What's my next best action? One of our great speakers on one of the panels spoke about connecting your head to the heart. So you put your hand on your heart. So the message comes from here. It goes to the head. The universe inputs the answer. Now here's the hardest part. Once you get your answer, sometimes it's an answer that you don't want. Sometimes it's don't say anything if you're in an argument. Sometimes it's make a phone call. It's a little scary to make. But your next mission is to receive the answer. Don't come out. Don't go to your head and go, what should I do? Or look at the list. Oh, here's what all the experts told me to do. And now I have to figure it out. No. Receive the answer. And then take action. Now, here's a little caveat. When you go to take action, that is an input. And it's very likely, if it's something you don't want to do, that it's scary, it's pushing your boundaries, your body is going to have an uncontrollable physiological response that you want to get away from. Just repeat. Repeat the cycle. Pause. Judge it as neutral. It just is. I feel this tenseness in my body. I feel these butterflies in my stomach. and be with it. And then put your hand on your heart again and ask that question. What is my next best action? And it's basketball season, right? We got the playoffs going on. NBA, great abbreviation for it. Now you have a new definition for it. It's next best action. This question eradicates overwhelm. People come to me, oh, Jonathan, I'm so overwhelmed today. You should hear what's going on. And sure, I let them, ramble on for whatever it is, 5-10 minutes, so they can get it out of their system, all the jumble that's in the head. You know what I'm talking about. And then when they're done, I just simply ask them to ask themselves, what's your next? I can't say that word today. Let me see that. Next. What's your next? What is your next best action? And then take it. I want to be clear. This is a practice. This is a skill. Mastering your emotions is a skill. A skill can be practiced. When you practice, you get better at it. The first time you do this, you'll probably suck at it. Why? Same reason why the first time you sit down at a piano, you suck at it, right? Maybe there are a few virtuosos out there. The first time you take a basketball and throw it at a basket, you normally miss. Why? Because you haven't practiced. So be prepared for this to be difficult. But if you want to begin to enjoy your present moment, if you want to exist in that space between stimulus and response, where you reclaim your freedom and your power so that you can become the leader of your life, so that you can become the leader of others, of your family, of your employees, of just the people you care about. Mastering your emotions is the way to do this. I promise you that if you practice this every day for the next week, all your relationships will change. I will not say they become perfect overnight, but I guarantee they change. The arguments slip away. That feeling of overwhelm and what do I do next and will I succeed goes away. Practice. Michael, I want to truly thank you for giving me the opportunity to share this. I do believe it's one of the most important skills that any of us can learn. So I hope that was helpful, and thank you.
That was great. If you really took a look at the comments too, as you did it.